I'm a storyteller myself. I've come from a long heritage of storytellers, and my art is the process of continuing those stories. My mother was born at La Perouse. My grandmother was born at La Perouse. My grandmothers came from Kurnell. My mum used to make shell work, and my nan, and we'd travel every Friday back to Lapa down to the Loop, and she had a stall with the Timbries, and she was a Sims from La Perouse herself, and she made shell boxes, shell slippers, boomerangs, sailing boats. This is a very old collection that's been added to over the generations from my grandmothers and the grandfathers that also helped. We've added to it ourselves over time. It's part of the shell working history of Botany Bay. I also have here some smaller things from the two sides of my family. This is a little fishbone necklace from Sydney, and this one is some ricey shells from Wreck Bay, but they were also made in Sydney, and they're also made in Tasmania. But it was a South Coast tradition, and we have to look for these in very special places, and they don't happen very often anymore because of pollution and stuff. Things that are fragile and things that are tiny are disappearing from our systems. So, yeah.
I think there was never a time that I wasn't watching Mum do art or my grandmother do art. I was always around in the lounge room, or we were outside chopping up something or collecting, weaving, or we're up and down the coast all the time looking for different shells or looking for different pieces of wood, or, we heard that, at Tathra there was a flood, so we know that there's going to be river bones. We know that the stuff that's up in the top end of the river is going to be at the Tathra beach. So we'd go down there with our trailer and we'd pick all the driftwood up. We knew we could make art out of that or something out of that in the future, and we just saved things, and we got stockpiles of things that we use all around. That's really what our art's about, and that's really what our life is about telling our stories through and sharing our culture through our stories. Stories that were told to us by our grandmothers and that are about our grandmothers.
This piece was made in honour of one of our old grandmothers from Kurnell. Her name was Croby, and she always wore a very special feather collar on her cloak. It was made by her lover, Bunda Murra, who went away to fight for stolen women over in the Wiradjuri country. And he said when he came back, he needed to be able to see her on the Dharawal escarpment cliffs. So he made her this very, very special collar so he could see her from afar. The original collar was made from different bird feathers, but mainly the crest feathers of the black cockatoo, which they don't have anymore because they were given as a gift for Croby's collar for her because she was Budgengal of the birds. The cloak itself is made from brush-tailed possum pelts, which was traditional on the southeastern coast and the highlands of this country for the harsh winters that we had to endure. Being, Katungal on the coast, every one of our grandmothers and grandfathers' stories are in us. They're already in us. And they are retold, because they build the character of the now. They build the character of who we are and how we fit. And to remember that, see, I'm not Katungal for nothing, there you go. But to remember that is to recognise, we're not the grand individuals that we think we are. We're everyone we've ever been. Whether it's this form or another. From the beginning of the world, we contain everything that we are and everyone.
So this is our mermaid. We call her a Milima. There's lots of heritage around the mythology of mermaids. We're Katungal people, so we're sea-born, and we have lots of very strong connections to the sea and sea creatures. The shells that the Milimar are wearing are called crenullas. They wash up in piles like this, like the necklace is made, of these different coloured pinkish shells. And they signify that a special type of fish is just out off the shore and it's time to catch those fish. So they're a tool for Aboriginal people, these shells. They were also worn for South Coast women in ceremony. They have a rattling sound, so when women are dancing, the shells would rattle and contribute to the rhythm of the ceremony.
The place Cronulla is named because of the Cronulla shells. That's what they're called. So when the first white people said, "What's this place?" they probably were collecting crenullas, and that's how it got its name, like most place names in the country. The Milimar tail is made of the sheath from a palm, the bangala, and her hair is made from the seed pods. It is the everyday. We're always thinking about it when we're going along the road. Stop!
Reeds.
There's reeds! Feeling this. No, that'll be a really good one for that project.
Making sure that our reeds are okay. We're also making sure that those wetlands are available for frogs and birds and snakes. And things that need
Insects
those wetlands also,
bees.
because we're part of the system.
You know, people they forget the basic, simple things. We're 80% water as human beings. We need fresh, clean water. Why do we continue to pollute it? You know, why do we cut down trees when we know that it's the very thing that makes oxygen that we need to breathe? We can't live that way. It's not sustainable in any way, and our future looks very, very short and bleak if we continue down this road.
Yeah.
And Aboriginal people, we don't like to do that. We know the value of keeping things in balance.
I think it's a loud, bold expression of how I'm feeling, with a lot of emotions and characters. Like you can see just like on the faces of them, they have lots of personality. So there's deep meanings and layers, but it's very fun and bold as well. Celebration of Aboriginal culture. My name is Marinda Fennell. I am a Wiradjuri artist. I was born in the Sutherland Shire and I live in the Sutherland Shire. And majority of my family is back in Dubbo, which is where my ancestry is from. Dharawal counting and colouring, I think the process of it started around 5 years ago. The idea came to me with the help of Mary Jacobs, who helped facilitate the project. Was a lot of consultations with elders from the community around here, including Uncle Les Bursell. I've illustrated all the native animals and plants from this area that I have a strong connection to, and also the Dharawal people have a strong connection to. What you can see behind me is one of my favourite art techniques, which is drawing on a piece of paper through normally pens or felt tip pen. I scan into the computer, vectorize it, and then I digitally paint it. From that process, sometimes I turn it into a mural, a large-scale mural with aerosol, house paints, or even paintbrushes with acrylic paints. Sometimes on canvas, or I turn it into a digital print like you can see behind me. I have a strong connection to Cronulla and the waterways and the animals. I I find it a cultural connection as well within that. And I think everybody who lives around the Southern Shire can have such a strong cultural connection to the water, right? And all the animals that are around here. We're quite blessed with the National Park. And I think through art, it's a great way for people to connect with Aboriginal culture or First Nation culture, or any culture really. You can find what I call those empathy strings of connection, such as the water and the trees. And I think it can shine through and connect us all together. It's a celebration of place. We can all enjoy the Dharawal nation. We just got to acknowledge the place it is, and who the ancestors are here.
My aunt had made a morning cap, and I was really taken by it. Hers was made out of clay, and I thought I could have a go at this and make mine out of tissues, because it's so nice to feed other things into it and you end up with layers. I thought, oh, I could put layers of my cultural business into this, you know, meaning the emu feathers, and sew onto the whatever I'm making. I'm Kerry Toomey. I am a Gamilaroi woman. Even though I've lived longer in Bundeena, Pilliga is home. That's where I connect to my mother's country. So the morning caps, I wanted to make a statement. It's not in death, but I thought I could talk about this in terms of our language being taken away and how we mourn for those cultural activities and we want them back. I went over to Kurnell for a day with some friends, and I thought about the women that would have lived in the area, and there was this tree with these beautiful flowers. It didn't only emboss, but it also stained and dyed the tissues. There's a collection of documents from the Tyndale collection in the museum in Adelaide. Tyndale was an anthropologist who went around to Aboriginal missions and collected data on people, and my grandmother was one of those people, and my grandfather, and they had measured their heads, and there's that thing about the size of your head and the brain and how smart you are, and I just was confronted by that. You know, this is my grandmother. This is not something that happened way, way, way back. It's my mum's mum, and it upset me. I feel like people need to know these things, these stories, because those things don't just affect that one person, things affect that whole community. Some of the hats around, I call them granny hats, because when I was a child, the older ladies would wear a hat to town, and going to town was a big deal. I would sometimes pop a hat on and think that they were just beautiful. I loved them. I love the little flowers on them. I love dress up and all that sort of stuff. So the memories of those women in my life are in this body of work. It doesn't matter where you go in this country, there's a connection for people in terms of stolen generation and deaths in custody and survival and all those things that make us. And I'm only doing one small part in a whole bunch of things that are happening. You can't help but to walk around this room and see that we are telling our stories. Even just putting the things onto the table, I was emotional with installing the work. So this is my little piece of change and history. We're making change. So long as we're on a journey together and learning from each other, I think we're about a positive change.
The Strong Sister program involves the Indigenous girls coming together to meet each other, and we do various activities such as going out on bush to look at other engravings, and then we do murals in all different areas to depict those engravings on the walls to show it to others. My name is Renee Scott and my mob is Wiradjuri from around the Dubbo area.
I've been making art for 3 years at Endeavour Sport High, participating in the Strong Sister program. My name is Sarah Etheridge. I come from the Snowy Mountains down in Narragansett. I started because I was very interested as a little girl. I was inspired by my uncle, Uncle Paul, who was an artist, and every time I went down to the coast to my grandparents' house, all his artworks are scattered over the house, and it inspired me to be like him.
So the artwork shows all different animals and creatures, which are all engravings and drawings which are found close to this gallery and around the area. And then they're all fish that are around the waters in Sutherland Shire that the Indigenous women used to collect for their family.
I want to inspire other young Aboriginal girls to participate in the Strong Sister program and learn more about their culture. So my name is Matilda Delphs and I'm from Wiradjuri, New South Wales. It means that I get to meet more people that are from my culture and bond with them and do the murals, which are really fun to do and I really enjoy doing them.
I blocked a lot out for years because I was 8 when I was taken. My auntie and uncle, they applied to take me out when I was 10 and I grew up in Warhope with their 6 children. Auntie Annie and Auntie Mary both told me, forget about the past, put it out of your head. And I did for a long while. And what brought it to life is when I started to study at Eora. We were all mature students and we had to stand up and give a 5-minute speech about our lives and we were all taken. And it just hit me. I'm Annette Webb, I'm Wiradjuri Dungeti woman, very proud of it, but I've never lived on those 2 lands. I've only lived at Sydney, Warhope and Newcastle. I always wanted to paint. I met Albert Namatjira when I was about 6. Apparently he came to Wallsend at Newcastle to live on the water and my auntie and uncle knew him and they come and got me and took me to see him in their horse and sulky and he gave my auntie a lovely picture and I always wanted to paint like that and so when I finished work I enrolled myself at Eora College. I said I wanted to paint like Albert Namatjira and they told me I couldn't, I had to learn to dot paint. But I learnt and I enjoy painting, doing dot paintings. I wouldn't do it any other way. My memory of my mother is she had a beautiful garden and I do a lot of my mum's garden in different shades and different ways and I do a lot of work about Swampy Creek, the mission where my father grew up at Walker. I went to my father and he said women didn't paint, the Dunghetty women didn't paint. And he said, look, go over to Auntie Annie's, I'll drive you over there and you have a talk. That was Dad's older sister. And I had a talk to her. She said, we didn't paint, but she said, when the women passed over, they'd come back and fly over the land and mine the land. And she was, now I'm going back 25 years ago, and she was 99 then. And she said, I'll give you permission to paint that. When I'm painting at home, I don't like anyone in the room with me. I've got to be on my own, and I like country and western music playing. I don't like to be disturbed. The cat sits next to me and that's it. Look, I think it's good to get with other women and share our stories and talk about our art. And I've learnt a lot over the years because I didn't grow up with Aboriginal people at all.
This is a photo of my mother. She was age 14 at the time. She was a nurse. She was about to leave the country and go to Germany into the war, but she had met my dad, so she didn't go. So this is her. The reason why she's got the tiara on is because she did have a bit of royal blood back in the Darnley Islands, so she always held on to that. She always used to say things like, you know, I've got royal blood. She was a very special lady because she had 14 children of her own, and then she adopted 2 boys. So that made the 11 boys and the 5 girls. And then so this one over here is an offspring, of course, which is me. My name's Dolly Brown. I'm a Dunghetty Yuin woman, a very strong Dunghetty Yuin woman. And I'm a living, breathing, talking, walking, living doll. I believe that my mother had a voice. My mother's mothers had voices, but they were never allowed to use their voices. I know for my parents, they've had a very hard time. I know that the children were removed at some point in time, and then they were strong enough to be able to bring their children back. So for me to be able to stand here today and to talk and to use the platform behind me with the dolls, I think the dolls are a good way of expressing. I've got a few of my daughters in here too. This one's my granddaughter. She's, as you can see, she's a shade lighter. So it also comes to the mixture of culture. Lisa from Wellington. She's been living in the Shire for a very long time and she has extended family. So Robin is in a wheelchair. She knows how to express herself, so she's quite an interesting woman. Over in the cradle, we have Julie. So Julie was the maker of the dresses, and the women have even picked their own materials, the colours that they wanted to be dressed in. So Julie's done all that. Shala's also very creative, so the creative sides come out in a lot of us. We're all very creative. This one is my youngest daughter. So she was born in the Shire, so she's taken her first breath of air here. And then this one's Gemma, and that one's Bora sitting on the chair. And Bora likes to connect. She's chosen the materials that connect, so that's Bora. And then we have Penny. Penny lives locally. She is a very strong woman, and I think, you know, combined with all these women, they're very strong women and they hold their culture very strong. Yeah, and the different shades, like this one was Leisha. She's my sister, believe it or not, but she's got the very fair complexion. Yeah, some of my brothers and sisters are quite fair. They don't all look like me. We all come in different shades. So that was one of the things why I think I thought about expressing through dolls. So when I was a child, we would have lots of campfires and we'd cook, and it's sort of taken me back to when I was young. This piece was done by me. That was the vision that I had seen of Bellbrook Mission, and I remember that's the campfire again, and sitting around the campfire and having little humpies around. So it's all done with hand and fingers. I get the best artwork out of emotion. A lot of my work's done with emotion. I feel it.
A lot of people who say, I like Aboriginal art, they are thinking tribal Northern Territory, Katherine, top of Queensland. That's what Aboriginal art is to a lot of people. When they see our artwork, it's still Aboriginal art, but it's contemporary Aboriginal art, and it still has our story. And that distinguishes, and that makes, that breaks down that bit of, it's all got to be the same. You've got to go up north to get it. Well, you don't. By doing that, they're realising that we're all different, and there's a lot of different countries. If you go to Wiradjuri country, the drawings there are a lot different to my drawings and artwork. If you go to Queensland, their artwork is a lot different as well. And a lot of artwork, they don't have a lot of the dotting. I have a lot of dotting. There's no reason why I can't. I use it as a contemporary filling, to fill in the spaces to bring out the actual work itself. But when I do Wiradjuri work, we do a lot of cross-hatching. But it's different to the cross-hatching that you have up north, Darwin, Northern Territory, Katherine. It's completely different. And the reasons are different. They do tribal family. I do mainly communities. So the Wiradjuri, I will have the Murrumbidgee River, billabongs, goannas, turtles. I like flora in my paintings because that was food also, and it softens the painting as well. I want to learn about your culture, and I want to teach you my culture because I'm proud of my culture, so I want to teach it to you. So by learning about each other's culture, that breaks down those stereotyping and those barriers. And that's really, really important. The most important thing is you have to respect those differences.
I love the fine texture of the paint when it dries, all the little dots, you can just run your hand over it. So I feel like combined with my Auntie Annette and Auntie Deanna that I've come to my own technique. I like doing the intricate fine dot work with lots of little dots. Hi, my name's Amy Lee Hill. I am a Kamilaroi woman based in the Sutherland Shire. So this artwork is basically, we got our elder up here. So she has passed on in the sky. And then down here, her granddaughter and her daughter. They've sort of lost their knowledge, they don't know their way. So through like spiritual connection, it may be through dreams, these girls struggle to try and find their knowledge. So these feet represent the spirit feet. Other spirits that have passed on as well from in the land. And then you've got other people that are in your family, in community, they're always around. My early experiences with art is that I grew up with my auntie, spending a lot of time with my auntie at her house in the school holidays, and we would draw endlessly and paint, and she would weave in sometimes like a little bit of Aboriginal art and show me how to do art. So with this artwork, this is the one with the journey for the cancer. So basically it's the women within the health system, and they're coming together and helping women from rural areas through their cancer treatment and so on. I absolutely love sitting down. I put my headphones on and it's like a meditative progression of the art. So when I've got my music going, it feels like that I can sit there and paint for hours and hours on end. It's incredible therapy to just sit there and paint and just do incredible dot work. Once you get into the zone, you can't really get out of it. You just keep going and going. So with this digital artwork, it's about women's birthing. These are the eggs that are related to birthing, and then the people. So these are the other women, the elders and aunties, and this is the journey that leads up to the sacred sirens. So where women do their birthing women's business. So my children as well, I'm hoping that they pick up the knowledge and share it with other people. And also art is a fun thing to do as well, and I try and make it fun. And if it's fun and learning together, it makes it much more easier for them to articulate what learning about Aboriginal symbols and that are.